Penguin Random House Audio presents The Code Book, The Science of Secrecy, From Ancient Egypt to Quantum Cryptography, by Singh. Read for you by Patty Nieman. For my mother and father, Swaran Kaur and Manga Singh. The urge to discover secrets is deeply ingrained in human nature. Even the least curious mind is roused by the promise of sharing knowledge withheld from others. Some are fortunate enough to find a job which consists in the solution of mysteries, but most of us are driven to sublimate this urge by the solving of artificial puzzles devised for our entertainment. Detective stories or crossword puzzles cater for the majority. The solution of secret codes may be the pursuit of a few. John Chadwick, The Decipherment of Linear B. Introduction. For thousands of years, kings, queens, and generals have relied on efficient communication in order to govern their countries and command their armies. At the same time, they have all been aware of the consequences of their messages falling into the wrong hands, revealing precious secrets to rival nations, and betraying vital information to opposing forces. It was the threat of enemy interception that motivated the development of codes and ciphers, techniques for disguising a message so that only the intended recipient can read it. The desire for secrecy has meant that nations have operated code-making departments, responsible for ensuring the security of communications by inventing and implementing the best possible codes. At the same time, enemy code breakers have attempted to break these codes and steal secrets. Code breakers are linguistic alchemists, a mystical tribe attempting to conjure sensible words out of meaningless symbols. The history of codes and ciphers is the story of the centuries-old battle between code makers and code breakers, an intellectual arms race that has had a dramatic impact on the course of history. In writing the code book, I have had two main objectives. The first is to chart the evolution of codes. Evolution is a wholly appropriate term because the development of codes can be viewed as an evolutionary struggle. A code is constantly under attack from code breakers. When the code breakers have developed a new weapon that reveals a code's weakness, then the code is no longer useful. It either becomes extinct or it evolves into a new, stronger code. In turn, this new code thrives only until the code breakers identify its weakness, and so on. This is analogous to the situation facing, for example, a strain of infectious bacteria. The bacteria live, thrive, and survive until doctors discover an antibiotic that exposes a weakness in the bacteria and kills them. The bacteria are forced to evolve and outwit the antibiotic, and if successful, they will thrive once again and reestablish themselves. The bacteria are continually forced to evolve in order to survive the onslaught of new antibiotics. The ongoing battle between code makers and code breakers has inspired a whole series of remarkable scientific breakthroughs. The code makers have continually striven to construct ever stronger codes for defending communications, while code breakers have continually invented more powerful methods for attacking them. In their efforts to destroy and preserve secrecy, both sides have drawn upon a diverse range of disciplines and technologies, from mathematics to linguistics, from information theory to quantum theory. In return, code makers and code breakers have enriched these subjects, and their work has accelerated technological development, most notably in the case of the modern computer. History is punctuated with codes. They have decided the outcomes of battles and led to the deaths of kings and queens. I have therefore been able to call upon stories of political intrigue and tales of life and death to illustrate the key turning points in the evolutionary development of codes. The history of codes is so inordinately rich that I have been forced to leave out many fascinating stories, which in turn means that my account is not definitive. Having discussed the evolution of codes and their impact on history, the book's second objective is to demonstrate how the subject is more relevant today than ever before. As information becomes an increasingly valuable commodity, and as the communications revolution changes society, so the process of encoding messages, known as encryption, will play an increasing role in everyday life. Nowadays, our phone calls bounce off satellites, and our emails pass through various computers, and both forms of communication can be intercepted with ease, so jeopardizing our privacy. Similarly, as more and more business is conducted over the Internet, safeguards must be put in place to protect companies and their clients. Encryption is the only way to protect our privacy and guarantee the success of the digital marketplace. The art of secret communication, otherwise known as cryptography, will provide the locks and keys of the information age. However, the public's growing demand for cryptography conflicts with the needs of law enforcement and national security. For decades, the police and the intelligence services have used wiretaps to gather evidence against terrorists and organized crime syndicates. But the recent development of ultra-strong codes threatens to undermine the value of wiretaps. As we enter the 21st century, civil libertarians are pressing for the widespread use of cryptography in order to protect the privacy of the individual. Arguing alongside them are businesses who require strong cryptography in order to guarantee the security of transactions within the fast-growing world of Internet commerce. At the same time, the forces of law and order are lobbying governments to restrict the use of cryptography. The question is, which do we value more, our privacy or an effective police force? Or is there a compromise? Although cryptography is now having a major impact on civilian activities, it should be noted that military cryptography remains an important subject. It has been said that the First World War was the chemists' war because mustard gas and chlorine were employed for the first time, and that the Second World War was the physicists' war because the atom bomb was detonated. Similarly, it has been argued that the Third World War would be the mathematicians' war, because mathematicians will have control over the next great weapon of war, information. Mathematicians have been responsible for developing the codes that are currently used to protect military information. Not surprisingly, mathematicians are also at the forefront of the battle to break these codes. While describing the evolution of codes and their impact on history, I have allowed myself a minor detour. Chapter 5 describes the decipherment of various ancient scripts, including Egyptian hieroglyphics. Technically, cryptography concerns communications that are deliberately designed to keep secrets from an enemy, whereas the writings of ancient civilizations were not intended to be indecipherable. It is merely that we have lost the ability to interpret them. However, the skills required to uncover the meaning of archaeological texts are closely related to the art of code breaking. Ever since reading The Decipherment of Linear B, John Chadwick's description of how an ancient Mediterranean text was unraveled, I have been struck by the astounding intellectual achievements of those men and women who have been able to decipher the scripts of our ancestors, thereby allowing us to read about their civilizations, religions, and everyday lives. Turning to the purists, I should apologize for the title of this book. The code book is about more than just codes. The word code refers to a very particular type of secret communication, one that has declined in use over the centuries. In a code, a word or phrase is replaced with a word, number, or symbol. For example, secret agents have code names, words that are used instead of their real names in order to mask their identities. Similarly, the phrase "attack at dawn" could be replaced by the code word Jupiter, and this word could be sent to a commander in the battlefield as a way of baffling the enemy. If headquarters and the commander have previously agreed on the code, then the meaning of Jupiter will be clear to the intended recipient, but it will mean nothing to an enemy who intercepts it. The alternative to a code is a cipher, a technique that acts at a more fundamental level by replacing letters rather than whole words. For example, each letter in a phrase could be replaced by the next letter in the alphabet, so that A is replaced by B, B by C, and so on. Ciphers play an integral role in cryptography, and so this book should really have been called The Code and Cipher Book. I have, however, forsaken accuracy for snappiness. As the need arises, I have defined the various technical terms used within cryptography. Although I have generally adhered to these definitions,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?